This diagram shows us three schema architecture. In this diagram, it is clear that there are three levels. Okay, in the schema architecture, one is internal level, conceptual level, and the external level. Internal level always deals with the storage structure. Okay, it always deals with the storage and access path of the database. Whereas conceptual level, it will always deals with the of the whole database for the community of users. Okay, so it hides the details of physical storage structure. Okay, and concentrate on describing the entities, data types, relationship, user constraint, user operation, and so on. So here implementation conceptual schema we used to, okay, the implementation conceptual schema or the implementation model, okay, we used to develop this. Okay, next we have external level schema. Okay, external level or external schema. So each external schema describes the part of the database that specify that a particular user group is interested in and hides rest of the databases, okay, from that user group. They can see only the end user. Say for example, when we open the any banking system, okay, or when we open any e-commerce website, okay, we can see the graphical user interface, or we can see the menus, okay, we can see the form, yes or no, or web page, okay, web page. So that is the way the data is represented to the outside world, where the storage structure or conceptual schema, all this will be hidden from the external level, okay, from the external users. Okay, so here as I told, three schema architecture are only description of data. Okay, three schemas are only the description of data. The actual data is stored at the physical level only. Okay, in the three schema architecture, each user group refers to its own external schema. That's why you can see here we have external schema multiple, yes or no, view is multiple. So one user here, one user here, one user using the data according to his or her perspective, another user will be using the data according to his or her perspective, okay, like this. So it is having its own schema. Okay, it is having its own interfaces. Each end user will be having its own interfaces. So there are multiple ways the data is represented. So you can see here many external views are there. But when you come to the conceptual schema and internal schema, it is exactly one. Okay, it will not be multiple. Okay, so hence the DBMS must transform a request specified on an external schema into a request against the conceptual schema, and then into a request on the internal schema, okay, for processing over the stored database. If the request is a database retrieval, the data extracted from the stored database, okay, the data extracted from the stored database must be reformatted to match the external view. Okay, the process of transforming request and results, okay, the process of transforming the request and the result between levels are called mapping. Okay, are called mapping. This mapping may be time consuming. So some DBMS, especially those that are meant to support some small databases, okay, do not support the external views. Okay, even in such systems, however, it is necessary to transfer requests between the conceptual and internal levels. So here the request has to go from external level to conceptual schema, from conceptual schema to internal level, and from actual format it has to fetch the data and again reformat to the form which has to be displayed to the external level. Yes or no? Okay. So this how it is possible? It is possible by using a process called mapping. Okay, it is possible by using a process called mapping. So what we say it is, we have two levels of mapping. What is one mapping is external conceptual mapping, another is conceptual internal mapping. Okay, what is actually mapping? Mapping is nothing but the processes of transforming request and result. Okay, the processes of transforming request and results between levels are called mapping. Okay, between the levels are called mapping. So external conceptual mapping, conceptual internal mapping. Okay, so the mapping between the external level and the conceptual level we call it as external conceptual mapping. The mapping between the conceptual and internal level we call it as a conceptual internal mapping. Okay, this we discussed. Okay, so mapping among schema levels are needed to transfer request and data. Programs refer to an external schema and are mapped by the DBMS to the internal schema for execution. Data extracted from the internal DBMS level is reformatted to match the user's external view. Okay, that the format that can the user can understand. Okay, that will be that is nothing but the reformat. Next, we have a very important topic, that is data independence. Okay, as I told in the previous class, three schema architecture always supports the characteristics of the database system. What are the characteristics of the database system? Self-describing nature of the data. Yes or no? Okay. Then we have a data abstraction. Okay. Installation between the program and the data, multiple user support of multiple user views. Yes or no? Like that, we have many characteristics. That means for the characteristics, basically we discussed. So here, that characteristics is supported using a data independence. So what is data independence? The three schema architecture can be used, okay, used to further explain the concept called data independence, which can be defined as, what is data independence? It can be defined as the capacity to change the schema at one level of the database system without having to change the schema at the higher level. Okay, higher level. I repeat once again the definition of data independence. The definition of data independence goes like this. Okay, data independence. What is data independence? The capacity to change the schema. Okay, the capacity to change the schema, the capacity to change the schema at one level, okay, at one level of database system without having to change the schema at the next higher level. Okay, so we have two types of data independence. One is logical data independence, another is physical data independence. What is logical data independence? I'll define it. Logical data independence is the capacity to change the conceptual schema, okay, conceptual schema without having to change the external schema or application program. Okay, the capacity to change the conceptual schema without having to change the external program. Okay, so when I do some changes in the conceptual schema, I need not to change my external schema entirely. This capacity we called as logical data independence. Okay, this capacity we called as logical data independence. Okay, so next. Okay, so here, say for example, here, yeah, we may change the conceptual schema to expand the database. Okay, by adding a record type or data item, or to change constraints, or to reduce the database. Okay, by removing record type or data item. Okay, so like that. So conceptual schema means what? Conceptual schema means here actually entities, yes or no, attributes. Okay, then we will be having constraints on the attributes. All this will be defined in the conceptual level. Whatever we discussed in the ER data model. Yes or no? entity relationship data model. So we discuss the entities, we discuss the attributes of the entity, we discuss the relationship among the entities, like that, right? So then in the lab also you would have seen how to represent the entity in the form of a relation, that is table. Okay, then if you add new say for example we have a student entity. So when I add new student, or if I delete the student data, it is not going to affect my external level. Okay, external level. How it is possible? Because of the logical data independence. Okay, logical data independence. Hope you are getting this. Okay. Next, we have physical data independence. What is this physical data independence? Physical data independence is nothing but the capacity to change the internal schema without having to change the conceptual schema. Okay. Capacity to change the internal schema without having to change the conceptual schema. Okay. Hence, external schema need not to be changed as well. So no, we are not changing the conceptual only. Then yeah, obviously the external level will not be changed. So changes to the internal schema may be needed because of some physical files were reorganized. Okay. So for example, by creating additional access structure, okay, to improve the performance of retrieval or updation of the data, okay, or storage structure. Okay, if the same data as before remains in the database, we should not have to change the conceptual schema. Yes or no? Conceptual schema is bothered about the data and the structure of the data. Yes or no? If I am just changing the or if I am upgrading the storage space, okay, it was 1 terabyte. I am upgrading to 5 terabytes or 20 terabytes. My data structure will be same. Yes or no? My database structure will be same. I will be having same set of entities, same set of attributes, same set of relationship. Yes or no? That and all will be the same. Only my storage space or storage structure will be, access structure will be, I will be making easier. Okay, I will make the things easy to access it. Okay, that time I have to just bother about the physical level change. The conceptual level change, conceptual level schema will not be changed. Obviously, the external level schema will not be changed. So this capacity we called as a physical data independence. Okay, physical data independence. So these are the two data independence: the logical data independence and physical data independence. Generally, physical data independence exists in most of the databases. Okay, and file environment, when physical details such as exact location of the data on disk, hardware details of storage encoding, placement, compression, okay, splitting and merging of records, okay, and so on are hidden from the user. Okay, application remains application programs or applications remain unaware of these details. Okay, application will remain unaware of these details. On the other hand, logical data independence is harder to achieve because it allows structural and constraint change without affecting application programs. Okay, so this is much restricted requirement if we talk about it. Okay, so next we move on to the yeah, this I just told you that. Yeah, we move on to DBMS or database languages and interfaces. Okay, next topic is databases, languages and interfaces. So by this time, I think you are aware of database languages. Yes or no? Okay, what is database languages? Like we discussed about our structured query language or SQL. Yes or no? In the SQL, we have sub languages like data definition language, data manipulation language, so no, and data control language, like this. Yes or no? So we have a brief discussion about this DBMS language in this session. Okay, so DBMS languages. Okay, once the design of the database is complete, yes or no? Okay, and a DBMS is chosen to implement the database, the first step is to specify conceptual and internal schema for the database and any mapping between the two. Okay, as I've discussed you the database life cycle. Okay, database development life cycle. So once our design is complete and we have already decided which DBMS software we have to use to implement the database structure, okay, then we have to go for, okay, specification of conceptual and internal schema. Okay, so whenever we want to define the structure of the database, yes or no? Whenever we want to define the structure of the database, that is conceptual schema. Okay, conceptual schema. When I say structure of the database, it is purely a conceptual schema. I told you, no, in the last class schema, description of the database, schema diagram. Yes or no? Schema diagram. Let me go for this randomly. Whether, yeah, exactly. Okay, one more. This is database state. So this, I just go for this. Yeah, schema diagram. So this is the structure of the database. Which database? It is a student database. Let us take it as a student database. So this, we know what all data I have to store in the database. So the structure is ready. Now I have to implement it. So when I want to implement it, I want a language. Yes or no? So to define the structure, that is student the table with this attribute, course table with this attribute, prerequisite table with this attribute, section table with this attribute, grade reporting table with this attribute. When I want to create it, I need some language. Yes or no? That language I use as DDL language, that is data definition language. Okay, data definition language. Okay, data definition language. So this data definition language in the organizations and all, it is used by the database administrator and database designer to specify the conceptual schema, which I showed now in the previous slide. Okay, conceptual schema of the database. Okay, so in many of the DBMS, this data definition language is also used to define the internal and external schema, that is views. Clear? Okay, so here the DBMS will have the DDL compiler. Okay, in the components of DBMS, I'll discuss that what is DDL compiler. Okay, so the DBMS will have a DDL compiler whose function is to process DDL statements in order to identify description of the schema construct and to store the schema description in the DBMS catalog. I told you about the catalog, right? Catalog is nothing but it is where we store the metadata. What is metadata? Data about the data. Yes or no? The structure, the memory location where actual data is stored. That will be that details will be there in the catalog. Okay. So now next we have here, once in the DBMS where a clear separation is maintained. Okay, in some DBMS where clear separation is maintained between the conceptual and internal level. Okay, between the conceptual and internal levels. Okay, internal levels. Okay, internal levels, the DDL is used to specify the conceptual schema only. Okay, the DDL data definition language will be specified to is used to specify the conceptual schema only. Okay, another language called storage definition language that we call in short as SDL. This SDL is used to specify the internal schema. Okay, this will be used to specify the internal schema. Okay, and the mapping between these two schema, okay, that is conceptual and internal schema, okay, may be specified in either one of the this languages like SDL or DDL. Okay, in most relational DBMS today, there is no specific language that performs the role of SDL. That's why we are using SQL altogether. Okay, uh, so in most relational DBMS today, if there is no specific language that performs the role of SDL, okay, there is no specific language that performs the role of SDL. Okay, instead, in the internal schema is specified by the combination of functions, parameters, and specification related to the storage of files. Okay, this permits the database administrator staff to control indexing choices, mapping of data to storage. Okay, like this. Then in some architecture there will be a separate okay, like a view level schema or the external schema. Okay, So to specify user views and their, okay, to specify user views and their mapping to the conceptual schema, okay, we use VDL, okay, that is view definition language, okay, view definition language, okay. So this is what is VDL, view definition language, to specify user views and their mapping to the conceptual schema, okay. But in most DBMS, okay, the DDL is used for both the conceptual and external schema, okay. In relational DBMS, that whatever we are using now, RDBMS, okay, RDBMS, okay. So SQL is used to SQL is actually used in the role of VDL to define the user or application views as a result of predefined queries. So there is no separate SDL now, VDL now, okay, DDL now. We have all together SQL. In SQL only all SDL, VDL, DDL, everything is defined, okay. Next we have, once the database structure is ready for us, okay, once the structure is ready, next what we have to do, we have to put the data actual values into the database. To put the data into the database, to retrieve the data from the database, okay, to update the data in the database, we use one language called data manipulation language. Yes or no? The data manipulation language. So here like typical manipulation include retrieval, okay, insertion, deletion, and modification of data. Okay, when I say manipulation, it is nothing but, okay, data manipulation is nothing but what, retrieval of data, insertion of data. Retrieval means what? Accessing, okay, fetching the data from the database. Insertion of data, okay, retrieval of data, okay, deletion of data, okay, modification of data, okay. For doing all this we need data manipulation language, okay, data manipulation language. So all this, so DML commands, okay, can be embedded in the general purpose programming language like host language, okay. So this we can just write the, okay, write this DML commands. What are DML commands? You will be knowing, right? This DML commands, what are that? We have insert into table, yes or no, select star from, okay, the table where with the condition, yes or no, then update, okay, table set attribute is equal to so and so value, yes or no. These are some of the commands. This insert, okay, delete, update, select command we can embed in our general purpose programming language. This general purpose programming language, we call it as a host language. What is this host language? Host language is our high level language like C, C++, Java, PHP, Perl. Okay, we can embed, okay, our DML commands within the host language. Okay, within the host language. When we embed DML commands within the within our high level programming language, their high level programming language we call it as host language, whereas DML commands we call it as sub language, okay, whereas we call DML commands as a query language or a sub language, okay. That you keep in mind. Data sub language, DML commands will be called as data sub language, and this high level programming language or general purpose programming language we called as host language, okay. Otherwise, okay, directly you can just use in the MySQL prompt or standalone DML commands prompt. You can just directly execute the DML commands also. That time it will be called as query language. Okay, when we embed the DML commands in the general purpose programming language, that time DML commands will be called as data sub language. Okay, if we are using, okay, what we demonstrated in you in the lab, like we executed the SQL commands directly on the MySQL prompt or Oracle prompt, right? MySQL prompt. That time we that is raw DML commands. Okay, that we called as a query language. Okay, next we have the high level or non-procedural language, low level or procedural language. Okay, so these are the two types of DML language. Okay, please write it here. These are two types of two types of DML language. There are two types of DML language. Two types of DML language. Two types of DML language. Okay, what is that? High level or non-procedural language. Okay, high level or non-procedural language. Another is low level or procedural language. High level or non-procedural language, that is, DML can be used on its own to specify complex database operations concisely. Okay, so many DBMS allow high-level DML statements, okay, either to be entered interactively from a display monitor or terminal, or to be embedded in the general purpose programming language. Okay, so here, whereas in low level or procedural language, okay, DML statements must be identified within the program. So, okay, DML statements must be identified within the program so that they can be extracted by the pre-compiler and processed by the DBMS. Okay, a low level or procedural DML must be embedded in a general purpose programming language. Okay, it should be embedded in a general purpose programming language. This type of DML typically retrieves individual record or objects from the database and processes each record separately. Okay, therefore it needs to use programming language constructs like looping. Okay, when we want to retrieve one record at a time, okay, one record at a time, that time we called as we have to go for the concept called looping. Yes or no? Okay, so to retrieve and process each record from the set of records. Say for example, you have a table. In the table you have 10 rows. Okay, 10 rows. So what this procedural language will do, it will process one row at a time. Okay, each row we called as a record. So that's why it will procedural level, it is called as row at a time. Whereas this we called as a set oriented time or a set at a time. That means entire set of rows. Okay, all set of rows it will be processing at a time. Here record by record, one record at a time. Okay, so to fetch one record at a time, we have to use looping concepts. Okay, low level DML are also called as record at a time. High level DML is also called as set at a time. Okay, set at a time or set oriented DMLs. Okay, set at a time or set oriented DML. Okay, a query in high level DML often specifies which data to retrieve rather than how to retrieve it. Okay, query in high level language, okay, specifies which data to retrieve rather than how to retrieve it. Okay, therefore such languages we called as declarative. Got it? Okay, why? This is always bothered about which data to retrieve. Okay, that's why we called as declarative language. Okay, declarative language. Hope it is clear for you. Okay, next we move on to DBMS interfaces. Okay, DBMS interfaces. What is interface? Interface, we say user interface. Yes or no? User interface, it is a means which will help the end user and the machine to interact. Yes or no? There should be means. Say for example, I have one interface now, you are also have interface to communicate the subject. Okay, to communicate DBMS subject, we are communicating through the interface. Yes or no? Interface. So here interface, casual end users typically use high level query language to specify their request, whereas programmers use the DML in its embedded form. Okay, for naive and parametric end users, there will be user friendly interfaces, okay, for interacting with the database. Okay, this can also be used by casual end users, okay, or others who do not want to learn the details of high level query language, like this. Okay, so interface is a means where we can interact with the system, okay, or the application. Okay, so there are several types of DBMS interface as you can see here: menu based interface, applications for mobile devices, form based interface, graphical user interface, natural language interface, keyboard based interface. Okay, so speech input and output. Okay, interface for parametric users, interface for the DBA. Okay, like this we have n number of interfaces. One by one we will discuss now. Okay, now next we have menu based interface. What is menu based interface? Okay, as you will be knowing that menu based interface means it will be having list of options that we called as a menus. Okay, menus that lead the user through the formulation of a request. Okay, that means what, this menu based interface makes the people work easier. They no need to remember any commands. Okay, they just want to click on the menus and select the options. Okay, all this we use in a menu based interface that I'll show you in the next slide. So I think you can see it here. Okay, the person will be using ATM, the person will be using kiosk to pay the bill. Yes or no? Okay, and the mobile app, if you just open the mobile, we will be having a number of menus. Yes or no? Okay, so menu based interface, okay, is nothing but it is a list of option or the menus that lead the user through the, okay, that will lead the user through the formulation of a request. Okay, so here what here that we no need to type any commands. Okay, here that only we have to pull down menus. Okay, we will be having a pull down menus. Okay, that are very popular technique in web based user interface. So no, they're also called as browsing interface. Yes or no? Okay, when we just open the web page, okay, any website, okay, it can be our VTube website, or it can be our any other banking website or reservation system websites. Okay, we will be seeing the menus list of options. Just we have to pull it down and pick the particular option which we want. Yes or no? Banking database and all, banking interfaces and all will be there. Yes or no? First we will be having that when we just type the URL, okay, it will show the login. Okay, login button. So login button, when we click onto the login button, it will take us to another web page. Yes or no? Okay, another web page like this. So menu based interface, that means it is basically for the web clients and the browsers. Okay, web browsers. Okay, for those who are want to browse. Okay, that is menu based interface. Then apps for mobile devices. Okay, apps for mobile devices. We have n number of apps. Yes or no? That makes our things easy. Yes or no? These interfaces like apps for mobile devices. These interfaces present mobile users with access to their data. Yes or no? Okay. For example, banking, reservation systems, insurance companies, okay, among many others, provide apps that allows user to access their data through a mobile phone or mobile device. Yes or no? The apps have built-in programmed interfaces that typically allow user to log in using their account name and password. The app then provide a limited menu of options for mobile access to the user data, right? As well as the options such as paying bills or making reservation system. Okay, making reservation for using through the reservation website. Yes or no? Google Pay is our app. Yes or no? It has making our things instead of going to the online banking system or to the bank. The bill payments, all the bill payments, whether it can be a phone bill, whether it can be a this what electricity bill or water bill, any kind of bill we can pay through the Google Pay or Paytm or Phone Pay. Yes or no? And we can transfer the amount easily. Okay, compared to the banking system, we can just transfer the amount easily through our mobile devices. Next, we have form-based interface. Form-based interface, or a form-based interface displays the form. As you fill the application form when you just go for a bank, or you are newly admitted to the college, you will be filling the form, your name, your all these details. Similarly, it is digitalized form. So form based interface displays a form to each user. User can fill out all the form entries to insert new data, okay, or they can fill out only certain entries, in which case the DBMS will retrieve matching data from the remaining entries. Okay, so forms are usually designed and programmed for what type of end user? Naive and parametric end users through in the form of CANIT transaction. I told you about the CANIT transaction, no? So I have just given here a simple form here. So here it is one simple form. Okay. So last name. Okay. Like this, some details will be given and some menu buttons will be some drop down button will be given. Okay. All this some text box will be given. So according to this title or a caption, the data will be entered into the text box. That what the data is entered by the user, that will be captured as a data to the into the database. Okay, so now we have yeah, many DBMS have form specification languages, which are special language that help programmers actually specify such forms. Okay, like SQL forms. We have SQL forms is a form based language that specifies queries using a form designed in conjunction with the relational database. SQL forms, you can try that. Okay. Next, we have Oracle Forms is a component of Oracle product suite that provides an extensive set of features actually to design and build the application using forms. You can just check it out SQL Forms and Oracle Forms. Okay. Like some systems have utilities that define a form by letting the end user interactively construct a sample form on the screen. Okay, that also is possible now. Next, we have graphical user interface. So graphical user interface you will be having graphical user interface. Basically it is a menu based and combination of menu based and form based interfaces. Okay, so where you don't want to command where you don't want to type any commands. Okay, you don't want interactive things, then you can go for graphical user interface where you will be using the mouse clicks. Okay, pull down button, all these things, graphical user interfaces. So typically displays a schema to the user in diagrammatic form. The user can specify a query by manipulating the diagram. So this is like graphical user interface is a combination of menu based and form based. Okay. So next is natural language interface. This interfaces natural language interface. This interfaces accept requests written in English or some other language and attempt to understand them. Like a very good example I can give is Google search engine. Yes or no? In the search box, we will be typing the English language or whichever the preferred language it will be given. No, it is Kannada or Malayalam or Hindi. Okay, we can just give. Okay, whichever the preferred language. So the natural language interface usually has its own schema. Okay, it will be having its own schema, which is similar to the database conceptual schema, as well as the dictionaries or dictionaries of important words. Okay, dictionaries of important words. When I just type database management system, so it will understand. Okay, it will go for the dictionary and search whether that word is there. Accordingly, it will direct us to another site. Okay, so the natural language interface refers to the words in its schema as well as the set of standard words in its dictionary. Okay, they are used to interpret the request. If the interpretation is successful, the interface generates a high level query corresponding to the natural language request and submit it to the DBMS. Okay, for processing. Otherwise, if it is not matching, what it will do? It will give the dialog box is saying that means you please give some other request or something. Okay, next we have keyboard based database search. Okay, these are somewhat similar to our web search engines. Okay, as I told, web search engines which accept strings of natural language where we have to type it. Okay, natural language words and match them with documents at specific sites or web pages on the web or web like Google Okay, ask, like this we have. They are here in the keyboard based database search, they have or they use predefined indexes on words. Okay, we say text mining and all behind it. They use predefined indexes on words and use ranking functions to retrieve and present resulting documents in decreasing degree of match. Such free form textual query interfaces are not a common in structural relational database actually. Okay, so there are a lot of research is going on keyboard based query. Okay, query language. Now, next we have speech input, speech output. You would have come across this speech input, speech output. Yes or no? So in Google and all, you now no need to type always. Okay, voice message has come. Yes or no? You can just input your voice and send. Yes or no? Voice messages, speech input and speech output. So others can hear it. Yes or no? That is very common. That kind of interface is the speech input, speech output. So in WhatsApp we have, yes or no, we can just speak out. We can just put our voice message instead of sending the typed message. And when we just go to the railway stations or in the aerodrome, there the announcement will be coming about the arrival and departure of the train or flights. Yes or no, that and all is a voice input. Okay, and then alert messages. Okay, alert messages, all this. Okay, so that and all will be there. Okay, all these are our speech input and output. The next we have interfaces for parametric users. So interfaces for parametric users, that this is especially for supermarket users. Yes or no, banking employees. Okay, so they will be the specified the application will be developed for their purpose. Okay, and they will be trained and they will be using that. They will be knowing which button they have to press, all these things. Okay, interfaces for DBA. Interfaces for DBA, the database administrator will be having their own set of interface where they can create account, they can give authorization for the people who are okay, who are authorized. Okay, who can access the data, who should not access the data. Okay, granting the permission, revoking the permission. To do all this, they will be having their own specific type of interfaces. Okay, so this we called as privileged commands. Okay, granting and revoking the permissions, that we call as privileged command. Okay, commands. Okay, here. Okay, I stop here, students.